Ravi and Mira were a young couple living in a small, crowded apartment at the edge of the city. Life had always been difficult for them. Ravi worked as a delivery driver, carrying packages across the city every day. His hands were often tired and his back ached from lifting heavy boxes, but he never complained. Mira worked at a small cafe, cleaning tables and serving customers. She spent her evenings preparing simple meals and keeping their tiny home neat and organized. Despite their struggles, they were happy together. They shared dreams of a better life, often talking quietly at night about what they would do if one day they had enough money to live comfortably. One sunny morning, Ravi returned home from work to find a letter waiting at the door. The envelope was yellowed and fragile. The handwriting was elegant but unfamiliar. He frowned and carefully opened it. Inside was a letter from a distant relative they had never met. The letter explained that the relative had passed away and left them an inheritance, an old garage on the outskirts of the city. Ravi's eyes widened as he read the words. The garage had been in the family for many years, and now it was theirs. It sounded strange, almost unbelievable, but the letter seemed genuine. It invited them to visit the garage at any time to take possession of it. Ravi shared the news with Mira that evening. She listened carefully, her eyes shining with curiosity. "A garage? What do you think is inside?" she asked. Ravi shrugged. "I don't know. Probably just old tools, some broken machines and junk. But it is ours. Maybe it could be useful." They both smiled at the idea, thinking about the possibilities. Even if the garage held nothing valuable, it was theirs, and that gave them hope. The next morning, they set out to visit the garage. It was located on a quiet street, away from the busy parts of the city. When they arrived, they found a large, weathered building. The walls were faded and the paint had peeled in many places. Vines climbed along the sides and the roof looked old and fragile. Ravi pushed open the wooden doors. The hinges creaked loudly. Inside, the garage was filled with piles of boxes, old furniture, car parts, and dust-covered machines. The smell was musty and earthy. Mira stepped carefully over the debris, looking around with wide eyes. "It is like a time capsule," she said. "Everything here looks so old." They spent hours exploring. Each corner held something different. There were shelves stacked with rusty tools, cabinets filled with papers, and piles of old books. Some items seemed valuable, like old coins and jewelry hidden in small boxes. Ravi and Mira moved slowly, trying not to disturb too much at once. Every time they opened a box, they felt like they were discovering a small secret from the past. They laughed and talked as they worked, imagining who might have owned each item. While moving some old tires, Ravi noticed a small wooden door at the back of the garage. It was partially hidden and looked very old. "Mira, come here. Look at this," he called. Together, they moved the tires aside and opened the door. Behind it was a narrow staircase leading down into darkness. Ravi held Mira's hand as he turned on the flashlight on his phone. The stairs were steep and the air smelled cold and damp. They descended slowly, each step echoing in the quiet. At the bottom, they found a small room that seemed untouched for many years. The room was filled with shelves and chests. Every surface was covered in dust. Ravi picked up a small locked chest. It was old and heavy. After a few minutes of trying, he managed to open it. Inside were stacks of papers, envelopes, and old documents. Some papers were marked with numbers, codes, and names. Ravi's hands trembled as he looked through them. Mira stood beside him, her eyes wide with wonder. "Ravi, do you see this?" "There is money, documents, and even gold coins," she said. Ravi nodded in amazement. The garage was not just a storage space. It was a hidden treasure. Over the next few hours, they examined everything in the room. There were old jewelry pieces carefully packed, envelopes filled with cash, rare stamps, and coins from different countries. Each item seemed more valuable than the last. Ravi realized that someone had gone to great lengths to hide this fortune. The document suggested a system of secret accounts, investments, and trusts. They could not understand everything, but they knew it was important. Mira carefully placed the coins in a bag while Ravi read the documents aloud. They had discovered something incredible. When they returned to their apartment that evening, they sat at the small kitchen table, still in awe. "Do you think this is really worth something?" Mira asked, holding a gold coin carefully in her hand. Ravi nodded. "It must be. Look at these documents. It is more than we ever dreamed. We need to understand it before we do anything else." They both agreed that they had to be careful. Such a discovery could attract attention if they were not cautious. The following days were filled with careful work. They returned to the garage each morning, sorting through documents and items. Every day they discovered something new. There were envelopes with letters explaining secret accounts, keys for hidden compartments, and more coins and jewelry. Ravi began keeping a notebook, writing down the details and organizing everything. Mira helped him, making sure nothing was lost or damaged. The couple worked together like detectives solving an old mystery. One afternoon, Ravi found a folded letter in an envelope. It was addressed to the discoverer of the garage. The letter explained that the contents were part of a secret fortune, hidden for safety. The total value was over $100 million. Ravi and Mira stared at each other in shock. $100 million was unimaginable. Their hearts beat faster as they realized the significance of their discovery. The letter also warned that the fortune could only be claimed by the rightful heirs and that they should keep it private until the proper legal procedures were followed. The couple felt a mixture of excitement and responsibility. Their lives could change completely, but they understood that they had to be careful. They could not reveal the secret to everyone. The fortune was not just money. It was a part of history, hidden and protected for decades. Ravi and Mira realized that they were now part of a story much larger than themselves. That night, they sat quietly in their apartment. The small kitchen table was covered with coins, letters, and documents. Mira looked at Ravi. "Can you imagine what we can do with this? We can finally live comfortably, help our families, and follow our dreams." Ravi smiled. "Yes, but we have to be smart. This is a responsibility, not just a gift. We have to understand it all before we make any decisions." They held hands, feeling a deep connection, knowing that their lives were about to change forever. The garage had given them hope, excitement, and a sense of adventure. It was no longer just an old building filled with junk. It was a doorway to a new life, full of possibilities. Ravi and Mira could hardly sleep that night. Their minds raced with ideas of what the future could hold. They knew that their journey had only just begun, and that many surprises awaited them in the days ahead. The couple felt grateful for each other, for their courage, and for the strange twist of fate that had brought the garage into their lives. They promised themselves that they would be careful, patient, and wise. The discovery of the secret fortune was not just about money. It was about opportunity, choices, and the chance to build a better life together. Ravi and Mira were ready to face the challenges ahead, excited for the adventures and discoveries that the mysterious garage had set in motion. The morning sun filtered through the small windows of Ravi and Mira's apartment as they prepared to return to the garage. Their minds were still buzzing from the discoveries they had made the day before. Each new thought brought excitement and a hint of worry. They knew that finding a secret fortune of over $100 million was extraordinary, but they also understood that it came with responsibilities. Ravi packed a small bag with gloves, notebooks, and a few tools, while Mira carefully carried a flashlight and a cloth to clean some of the coins and documents. As they arrived at the garage, they noticed how different it felt in daylight. The sunlight reflected off the dusty surfaces, making the room appear warmer and less mysterious than it had the previous evening. Despite this, a sense of curiosity filled them as they approached the small wooden door that led to the hidden room. Ravi pushed the door open, and the creaking sound reminded them of the secrecy surrounding the place. The narrow staircase led them down into the cold, dimly lit room where the fortune was hidden. Once inside, Mira placed her flashlight on a small shelf, and Ravi began organizing the documents they had discovered earlier. They decided to work systematically. Ravi started with the papers containing numbers, codes, and account details. Mira focused on the envelopes with coins, gold, and jewelry. Each piece seemed to tell a story. The coins came from different countries, and some were rare editions that could be worth more than their weight in gold. Mira handled them carefully, placing each one in a soft cloth for safekeeping. As they sorted, Ravi noticed that some of the documents were related to investments. There were references to companies, banks, and legal documents that seemed to explain how the fortune had been managed over the years. Ravi scratched his head as he tried to understand the codes. "These are not ordinary papers," he said to Mira. "They seem like instructions or records. Someone worked hard to organize all of this. It is like a secret guide to the fortune." Mira looked at him with wide eyes. "We need to understand it completely before we decide what to do. This is more than just money. It is a puzzle we have to solve." They decided to take photographs of each document with Ravi's phone. This way they could study them without handling the originals too much. Mira carefully placed each envelope on the table while Ravi took notes. Some documents had signatures and stamps, while others contained only codes and numbers. It was clear that the fortune had been managed with great care. Whoever had hidden it wanted to make sure it remained safe until the rightful owners found it. After several hours, they came across a small envelope labeled Instructions. Inside was a neatly written letter. It explained that the fortune had been hidden for safety, and that it had been accumulated over many years. The letter mentioned trusts, legal accounts, and investments, all designed to grow over time. The writer of the letter had trusted that only the right people would discover it, and that they would use it wisely. Ravi and Mira read the letter several times. The idea that they were chosen to manage this fortune filled them with awe and a little nervousness. Mira looked around the room thoughtfully. "Ravi, this is amazing, but we need help. We cannot understand everything alone. Maybe we should talk to someone who knows about money and legal matters, someone we can trust completely." Ravi nodded. "Yes, you are right. We must be careful. If we make a mistake, it could cause problems. We need guidance before we take any big steps." They agreed that their first priority was to find a trustworthy financial advisor and a lawyer who could help them understand the documents and accounts. Later that evening, they returned to their apartment with a few envelopes containing coins and small valuables. They sat together discussing their plan. Ravi felt a mixture of excitement and responsibility. "We cannot spend anything yet," he said. "We have to know exactly what we have and how it is managed. We need a plan." Mira agreed. "This is not just money. It is our future. We have to protect it and make sure it grows. We need to be smart, and we need to be patient." Over the next few days, they researched financial advisors and lawyers in the city. They looked for people with excellent reputations who could be trusted completely. They made phone calls and scheduled meetings. While waiting for responses, they continued organizing the items in the garage. Each day brought new discoveries. They found rare coins from ancient times, gold jewelry carefully wrapped in soft cloth, and letters that seemed to explain parts of the fortune. They were learning that this fortune had been hidden with great intelligence, and every item had a purpose. One afternoon, Ravi discovered a small wooden box hidden under a shelf. Inside were keys of different sizes and a few sealed envelopes. Some of the keys looked old and delicate, while others were more modern. Ravi examined them carefully. "These keys must open more hidden compartments or boxes. We have not explored everything yet." Mira nodded with excitement. "It feels like a treasure hunt. Every day we find something new. This is incredible." They decided to keep the keys safe and continue searching for what they might unlock. As they worked, Ravi and Mira began imagining how their lives could change once they understood the fortune completely. They pictured paying off debts, moving to a larger home, traveling, and helping their families. But they also reminded each other to be cautious. "We cannot rush," Ravi said. "We need to understand all the details. This is not just a gift. It is a responsibility. We must manage it wisely." Mira smiled and held his hand. "We will do it together. We are a team, and this fortune will help us achieve our dreams safely." During their research, Ravi found that some of the documents were linked to banks in different countries. Some accounts had been untouched for decades. The instructions suggested ways to access the accounts securely, and there were even notes about investments in businesses that still existed. Ravi realized that the fortune was not just in cash or gold, but also in valuable investments. This meant that it had the potential to grow even more over time if handled correctly. By the end of the week, Ravi and Mira had a clearer understanding of the fortune. They had organized the items, photographed the documents, and made a list of every coin, envelope, and piece of jewelry. They had also scheduled meetings with a trusted financial advisor and a lawyer to learn more about how to access the accounts and manage the investments legally. The couple felt confident that they were taking the right steps. One evening, as they sat in their apartment, Mira looked at Ravi with determination. "We have come so far already. We have discovered a secret that most people could only dream of. We must continue carefully and make the right choices. This fortune can change our lives, but it can also help others if we are wise." Ravi nodded. "Yes, Mira, this is our chance. We have to be patient, smart, and careful. Together we can make sure this fortune brings happiness and opportunity, not trouble." The garage had become more than a storage place. It was a gateway to a future filled with possibilities, adventure, and learning. Ravi and Mira realized that their lives had changed forever, and every day brought new challenges and discoveries. They were no longer just a young, poor couple struggling to survive. They were the guardians of a secret fortune, entrusted with its safety and growth. As they prepared to leave the garage that evening, Ravi looked around the room and smiled. Tomorrow we will continue exploring, and we will learn more about these accounts and keys. We are on the right path, Mira nodded. Yes, Ravi, this is only the beginning. The fortune is here and our future is waiting. We will discover it together and make the most of it. The couple walked back to their apartment under the fading sunlight, their hearts filled with hope and excitement. They knew that their journey had only just begun and that many surprises were waiting for them. The hidden room in the garage had already taught them patience, teamwork, and careful planning. Ravi and Mira were ready to face the next steps with courage and determination, excited for the adventures and discoveries that lay ahead. The next morning, Ravi and Mira woke up early, filled with a sense of purpose. Their minds were focused on the garage and the secrets it held. Over the past few days, they had discovered that the hidden room was more than just a storage space. It was carefully designed to protect a fortune that had been accumulated over decades. Today, they decided to explore more areas of the garage that they had not yet examined. They hoped to find clues about the keys and the sealed envelopes they had discovered in Part 2. As they entered the garage, the sunlight streamed through the dusty windows, casting long shadows across the floor. Ravi moved aside some old boxes while Mira carried the flashlight and a small bag for collecting items. Their excitement grew as they approached a corner they had ignored before. It was filled with wooden crates and stacks of old furniture. Mira noticed a faint line along the floor that suggested a hidden compartment. Ravi knelt down and pressed along the line. He discovered that the floorboards could be lifted. With some effort, they managed to open a hidden space beneath the boards. Inside, there were several envelopes in a small metal box. The envelopes were marked with dates and simple descriptions such as investments and precious metals. The metal box was heavier than it looked and had a lock with one of the keys they had found earlier. Ravi carefully inserted the key, turned it slowly, and opened the box. Inside, they found more gold coins and a set of old maps. The maps were yellowed with age, but the markings were clear. They seemed to show locations of properties and businesses in the city. Mira spread them out on the floor and studied them carefully.
Ravi, I think these maps show places where the fortune has been invested.
They are not just documents. They are a guide to how the fortune grew over time. Ravi nodded, amazed. This means that the fortune was not kept in one place. It was spread out to keep it safe and growing. Whoever created it was very clever. After carefully photographing the maps and coins, they continued searching the room. Ravi noticed a stack of old books that seemed unusually thick. He pulled one out and opened it. The pages were filled with handwritten notes and sketches. Some sketches were of buildings and machinery, while others seemed to be diagrams of financial plans. Mira leaned over to look at the notes. These must be instructions or explanations of the investments. They are like a guidebook left for us. We need to study them carefully. Ravi and Mira decided to organize the documents and items in the garage systematically. They divided the room into sections: coins and jewelry, envelopes with money, maps, and documents with instructions. This way they could keep track of everything and ensure nothing was lost or misplaced. The process took several hours, but they worked patiently. Each new discovery brought a sense of wonder and excitement. While organizing, Ravi found an envelope labeled legal papers. Inside were documents that seemed to explain how the fortune had been registered under trusts and accounts. Some papers mentioned the names of businesses, addresses, and bank details. Ravi realized that they would need professional help to understand everything and access the accounts safely. He and Mira made a note to bring these documents to the lawyer they had contacted. After a short break, Mira noticed a small door at the back of the room that they had never seen before. It was hidden behind a tall shelf filled with old boxes. Ravi, there is another door here. I think it might lead to another secret area, she said, her eyes sparkling with curiosity. Ravi carefully moved the boxes aside and opened the door. A narrow passage led to a smaller room. Inside, there were more envelopes and a few small safes. Each safe had a combination lock, and some of the envelopes contained notes that seemed to explain the combinations. The couple worked together to open the safes. Each one contained coins, jewelry, and important documents. They discovered that some envelopes contained letters from banks and lawyers, explaining how to access accounts in different countries. Ravi and Mira realized that the fortune was even more extensive than they had first imagined. It was carefully hidden, organized, and protected for decades. Whoever had left it wanted to ensure that only the rightful heirs could access it. By late afternoon, they had finished exploring the hidden room and its passage. They carried some of the smaller items to their apartment, ensuring that the larger boxes and documents remained safe in the garage. Sitting at their kitchen table, they reviewed their discoveries. Ravi looked at Mira and smiled. "We are slowly understanding this fortune. It is not just money. It is a story of planning, trust, and intelligence. We have to continue carefully and learn everything we can." Mira nodded. "Yes, Ravi. This is an incredible responsibility, but it is also an amazing opportunity. We can change our lives and use this wisely." Over the next few days, they focused on studying the documents, maps, and instructions they had found. They discovered that some accounts were in their own names, while others were in the names of companies created long ago. The investments included businesses, properties, and other assets. Each document seemed to have a purpose, guiding them step by step to understand the fortune completely. Ravi and Mira realized that they could not rush. They had to learn, plan, and act carefully to make sure they handled everything properly. One evening, as they studied the maps and documents, Mira noticed something unusual. "Ravi, some of the locations on these maps are still businesses in the city. Maybe we could visit them and learn more about the investments." Ravi considered her suggestion. "That is a good idea. We have to be careful, but visiting these places could help us understand how the fortune is managed and what steps we need to take." Next, they decided to plan a careful visit to a few of the businesses marked on the maps. The following day, Ravi and Mira went to the first location on the map. It was a small building that appeared ordinary from the outside. They spoke politely with the manager, explaining that they were researching family investments and needed some information. The manager was helpful and provided documents and records showing that the business had been part of an investment plan for decades. Ravi and Mira realized that the fortune was active and still generating value. Each location they visited added more clarity and confidence to their understanding. By the end of the week, Ravi and Mira had visited several locations on the maps. Each visit gave them a better understanding of the fortune and the careful planning that had gone into it. They returned to the garage and their apartment with a renewed sense of purpose. They felt more confident that they could manage the fortune wisely. They also realized the importance of patience, careful study, and teamwork. That evening, as the sun set, Ravi and Mira sat together in their apartment. They looked at the items they had collected and the notes they had made. "We have learned so much in just a few days," Mira said. "But there is still more to discover. We must continue carefully and understand everything before we make any big decisions." Ravi nodded. "Yes, Mira, we are not just finding money. We are discovering a legacy. We have to respect it, protect it, and use it wisely. Together we can do it." The couple felt a deep sense of gratitude for each other and for the unexpected fortune they had found. The garage had become more than a hidden room with treasures. It was a guide, a teacher, and a path to a brighter future. Ravi and Mira were ready to continue their journey, exploring the remaining secrets of the garage and learning how to manage the fortune responsibly. Every day brought new discoveries, challenges, and excitement. They knew that with patience, intelligence, and teamwork, they could unlock the full potential of the secret they had inherited. The garage, once a simple old building filled with junk, had transformed into a place of adventure, learning, and hope. Ravi and Mira understood that their journey was only beginning. The secrets of the fortune were waiting for them, and they were ready to face each challenge together. With every envelope opened, every coin examined, and every map studied, they grew more confident that they could honor the legacy they had discovered and create a future filled with opportunity and happiness. Ravi and Mira woke up early the next day with excitement and determination. Over the past few weeks, they had learned so much about the hidden fortune in the garage. Every discovery had made them more aware of the responsibility they carried. Today, they planned to explore the remaining safes and envelopes that they had not yet examined. They knew that understanding these items could reveal the most important secrets of the fortune. When they arrived at the garage, the morning light made the room feel warm and inviting. Ravi carefully moved some old boxes to reach a large metal safe that had been hidden behind a stack of crates. The safe was sturdy and heavy. They checked the list of keys and envelopes and found the one that matched the safe's lock. Ravi inserted the key and turned it slowly. The lock clicked open. Inside, they found a collection of documents, envelopes, and a small wooden box. The envelopes were marked with important labels such as final instructions and important investments. Mira carefully opened one envelope. Inside were letters from lawyers and banks explaining special instructions for managing the fortune. The letters also mentioned that the fortune was designed to continue growing over time if handled correctly. Ravi examined the documents and noticed detailed financial plans, charts, and explanations of accounts in multiple countries. They realized that the fortune was not just money and gold. It was a complex system of investments that had been carefully planned for decades. The small wooden box inside the safe caught Mira's attention. She picked it up and opened it. Inside were old photographs, letters, and a diary. The diary belonged to the relative who had hidden the fortune. The pages described how the wealth was collected over the years and the reason for keeping it secret. Ravi and Mira read the diary carefully. It explained that the fortune had been protected from any harm, and that only the rightful heirs should access it. The diary also contained advice on how to use the wealth wisely and responsibly. Ravi looked at Mira with admiration. "This diary is amazing. It tells the story of our family, the hard work behind this fortune, and the care taken to protect it. We need to follow the instructions carefully." Mira nodded. "Yes, Ravi, it is more than money. It is a legacy. We have to respect it and use it wisely. The diary will guide us in making the right decisions." They spent the rest of the morning organizing the documents from the safe. Ravi made notes about the accounts, investments, and properties mentioned in the letters. Mira sorted the photographs and diary pages, creating a small album that documented the history of the fortune. Each new detail gave them a better understanding of the careful planning and intelligence that had gone into creating and protecting the wealth. After a short lunch, they returned to the hidden room to examine more envelopes. Some contained legal documents, others had letters of instructions for accessing bank accounts, and a few contained rare coins and small jewelry pieces. Ravi and Mira realized that every envelope was important and had a purpose. The fortune was like a puzzle, and each piece was designed to fit perfectly with the others. They worked carefully, making sure nothing was misplaced or damaged. As they continued, Ravi noticed a folder labeled Future Plans. He opened it and found documents that explained how the fortune could be used to support education, charities, and local businesses. The letters emphasized helping others while maintaining the growth of the fortune. Mira read the letters aloud. "It says here that we can improve our lives, but we should also help others and create opportunities for people in need. This is more than wealth. It is a way to make a difference." Ravi nodded. "This is incredible. The fortune is designed not only to benefit us but also to help many others. We have to follow this guidance carefully." The couple decided to take a short break and talk about what they had discovered. They sat on a wooden bench in the garage, their minds full of ideas and plans. Mira spoke first. "Ravi, we have learned so much already, but there is still more to explore. We need to understand everything before we take any steps outside the garage." Ravi agreed. "Yes, Mira, patience is important. We have to study all the instructions, organize the documents, and follow the diary. Only then can we make decisions that are responsible and safe." After the break, they returned to the smaller room and examined the last few safes. Each one contained coins, jewelry, and documents that complemented the items they had already sorted. Ravi realized that the fortune had been divided carefully to ensure that it remained protected. Mira noted that the keys, maps, and envelopes were part of a system designed to guide the rightful heirs step by step. Every discovery made them feel more connected to their family history and more determined to honor the legacy. By late afternoon, they had organized all the items in the hidden room. Ravi created a detailed inventory, noting the location, type, and description of each item. Mira created a photo album and organized the documents according to categories such as investments, accounts, and instructions. The couple felt proud of their work. They had turned a chaotic garage into an organized archive of wealth and history. As they prepared to leave the garage, Ravi turned to Mira. "We have learned so much, and the garage has taught us patience, teamwork, and careful planning. But we also need to start thinking about the future. We should meet the lawyer and financial advisor soon to understand how to access the accounts legally and manage the fortune responsibly. Mira nodded. Yes, Ravi, the garage is just the beginning. The fortune is more than money. It is a path to creating opportunities, helping others, and building a better life. We have to follow the instructions and make smart choices. That evening, they sat together in their apartment, reviewing their notes and photographs. Ravi looked at Mira and smiled. We have come a long way in a few days. We know more about the fortune, the accounts, and the investments. We also understand the legacy and responsibility that comes with it. Mira held his hand. Yes, Ravi. And we are learning that wealth is not just about spending. It is about planning, helping others, and making wise decisions. This is our chance to do something meaningful with the fortune. Over the next few days, Ravi and Mira focused on preparing for meetings with their lawyer and financial advisor. They compiled all the documents, photographs, and notes they had collected. They created a clear summary of the accounts, investments, and instructions. Ravi realized that they had become more organized, confident, and knowledgeable. They were ready to take the next step in unlocking the full potential of the fortune. One morning, as they returned to the garage for a final check before their meetings, Mira noticed something unusual about one of the envelopes labeled Special Instructions. It was sealed tightly and had a symbol they had not seen before. Ravi carefully opened it and found a letter addressed to them personally. The letter contained advice on making long-term plans, protecting the fortune, and using it for positive impact. It emphasized the importance of education, charitable work, and wise investment. Ravi and Mira felt inspired. The fortune was not just a gift. It was a tool for creating a better future for themselves and others. That evening, they sat quietly together, reflecting on their journey. They realized that the garage had given them more than money. It had given them knowledge, responsibility, and a sense of purpose. They were no longer just a young, poor couple dreaming of a better life. They were guardians of a secret legacy, entrusted with using it wisely. Ravi looked at Mira and said, "The garage has taught us so much. We are ready for the next step. We will honor this fortune, follow the instructions, and build a future filled with opportunity and happiness." Mira smiled. Yes, Ravi. Together we can do it. The garage was only the beginning. Our adventure is just beginning, and the fortune will guide us to a better life. With determination and excitement, Ravi and Mira left the garage, ready to meet the lawyer and financial advisor the next day. They knew that their journey had reached an important turning point. The garage had revealed its secrets, taught them valuable lessons, and prepared them for the challenges and opportunities ahead. Their future was full of hope, adventure, and possibilities, and they were ready to embrace it with confidence, wisdom, and teamwork. The next morning, Ravi and Mira felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness. Today, they were going to meet the lawyer and financial advisor who could help them understand the full details of the fortune. The past few weeks had been filled with discoveries, puzzles, and planning. Now they were ready to take the next step in turning the hidden fortune into a secure and organized part of their lives. They carried all the documents, photographs, and notes they had carefully prepared from the garage. At the lawyer's office, they were greeted warmly. The lawyer, a kind and professional woman named Mrs. Sharma, listened carefully as Ravi and Mira explained their discovery. They showed her the documents, maps, and letters from the garage. Mrs. Sharma examined everything thoroughly. "This is an extraordinary case," she said. "It is clear that the fortune was carefully hidden and documented. You have done an excellent job organizing it. Now we can begin the process of verifying the accounts, understanding the investments, and ensuring everything is legally accessible to you." Ravi and Mira listened carefully as Mrs. Sharma explained the process. There were accounts in multiple banks, investments in businesses, and legal trusts that needed verification. Each step had to be completed carefully to ensure that the fortune was secure and properly managed. She also explained the importance of privacy. It is crucial that only trusted people know about this fortune. You are its rightful heirs, and it is your responsibility to protect it. Once everything is verified, you will have full access and control. Next, they met their financial advisor, Mr. Khan, who was patient and knowledgeable. He explained the best ways to manage and grow the fortune responsibly. He emphasized the importance of balancing personal needs with long-term investments and charitable work. Ravi and Mira realized that the fortune was not just about money. It was a tool to create a better life, help others, and make wise decisions that would last for years. Over the next few weeks, Ravi and Mira worked closely with Mrs. Sharma and Mr. Khan. They verified bank accounts, checked investments, and made a complete plan for managing the fortune. Each meeting added clarity and confidence. They learned about safe investments, legal obligations, and opportunities to support education, local businesses, and community projects. They began to understand the true meaning of the fortune. It was a legacy meant to create positive change while ensuring their own security. Once the accounts were verified, Ravi and Mira returned to the garage to organize the items one last time. They decided that the remaining coins, gold, and jewelry would be stored safely in a bank vault until they fully understood how to integrate them into their financial plan. The maps, photographs, and documents were carefully stored in archival boxes. They realized that the garage had served its purpose. It had guided them step by step, teaching them patience, responsibility, and careful planning. Ravi and Mira also began thinking about their future. They made a plan for using the fortune wisely. First, they would pay off all their debts and secure a comfortable home. They wanted a place where they could live peacefully and also host friends and family. Next, they planned to invest in education. Mira dreamed of going back to school to study business and finance, while Ravi wanted to learn more about managing investments. They also decided to support local businesses and charities, following the instructions left in the diary they had found in the garage. One morning, they visited a community school to discuss ways to support education. The principal welcomed them warmly and explained the areas where help was most needed. Ravi and Mira decided to fund scholarships for students and provide resources for the school library. They felt happy and proud knowing that their fortune could create opportunities for others. It was the first step in using the wealth responsibly and positively. In the weeks that followed, they invested in local businesses marked on the maps they had found. Some were small shops that needed capital to grow, and others were companies that had been part of the fortune's long-term investments. Ravi and Mira worked with the business owners, providing guidance, support, and encouragement. They felt a sense of satisfaction seeing the positive impact their fortune had on the community. Despite their busy schedule, Ravi and Mira made time for their personal dreams. They found a larger apartment that was bright, comfortable, and peaceful. They enjoyed cooking meals together, decorating their home, and spending quiet evenings reading the letters and diary pages from the garage. They felt grateful for the journey that had started with a simple old garage filled with junk and had transformed into a life full of purpose, opportunity, and joy. One evening, as the sun set and painted the sky with warm colors, Ravi and Mira sat together on the balcony of their new apartment. Ravi took Mira's hand and said, "Do you remember how we felt when we first discovered the garage?" "We had no idea what we had found," Mira smiled. "Yes, Ravi. It was surprising, exciting, and a little scary, but we learned so much and made careful choices. The garage gave us more than money. It gave us direction, knowledge, and the chance to help others." They reflected on the lessons they had learned. Patience, careful planning, teamwork, and responsibility had guided them through the process. They understood that the fortune was not just wealth to be spent, but a resource to create opportunities, support the community, and ensure a secure future. They felt proud of how they had handled the responsibility and excited about the life they were building together. Ravi and Mira also realized that the fortune had brought them closer together. They had shared every step of the journey, supporting and encouraging each other. Their relationship had grown stronger, built on trust, understanding, and shared dreams. The challenges they faced in organizing the fortune had strengthened their bond and taught them the importance of working together toward a common goal. As the months passed, they continued managing the fortune wisely. Investments grew steadily, scholarships supported more students, and community projects thrived. The fortune had become a source of inspiration and opportunity. Ravi and Mira felt fulfilled knowing that their actions were creating positive change. They also continued to study and learn, improving their knowledge of finance, business, and planning. One morning, they returned to the garage for one final visit. The space was quiet and orderly, filled with carefully stored boxes and photographs. Ravi walked through the room, remembering how it had felt when they first discovered the hidden fortune. Mira smiled and placed a hand on his shoulder. "This garage changed our lives. It taught us how to think carefully, make good choices, and value the opportunity we were given." Ravi nodded. "Yes, Mira, it was more than a discovery. It was a journey that prepared us for everything we are doing now. We will always remember it. The couple decided to leave the garage as it was, keeping it secure and private. They knew that it had served its purpose and that the lessons it had taught them would last a lifetime. The fortune was no longer hidden. It was organized, managed responsibly, and being used to create opportunities for themselves and others. Ravi and Mira's lives had changed completely, but they had stayed true to their values. They had not rushed, wasted, or misused the fortune. Instead, they had planned carefully, learned, and used the resources wisely. Their small apartment had transformed into a comfortable home. Their dreams of education and growth were becoming reality, and their impact on the community was visible and meaningful. One evening, as they watched the sunset together, Mira spoke softly. "Ravi, we started as a young couple struggling to make ends meet. Now we have a future filled with possibilities, hope, and happiness. We discovered the garage and the fortune, but the real treasure is everything we learned along the way." Ravi smiled. "Yes, Mira. The garage gave us more than money. It gave us knowledge, responsibility, and the chance to create a better life. We will continue to honor this fortune and use it wisely." Their journey had begun with a hidden garage filled with junk, but it had led them to a life of opportunity, responsibility, and purpose. Ravi and Mira had discovered the secret of the fortune, learned how to manage it, and turned it into a tool for building a brighter future. They had faced challenges, made careful decisions, and grown together as a couple. The garage had been the beginning of a remarkable adventure, one that had changed their lives forever. Ravi and Mira sat together quietly, feeling content and grateful. They had unlocked the fortune, implemented plans for a secure future, and created a life filled with hope, happiness, and purpose. Their journey was complete, yet the lessons and opportunities of the garage and the fortune would continue to guide them for years to come. They had proven that careful planning, responsibility, teamwork, and wise choices could turn even the most unexpected discovery into a life of success and fulfillment.